I can still feel the chill of that finger pressed to my lips, the maid's eyes locking onto mine with a desperation that carved itself into my bones. "Stay silent," she whispered, but it wasn't her voice. It was mine. No, wait. I was the one hiding, the one whose world shattered in that instant. Let me start over, because if I don't tell this right, you'll never understand how silence became my weapon, my curse, and eventually, my chain. My name is Sofia Rossi, and I was the maid in Vincenzo De Luca's estate. The kind of place where shadows have teeth and loyalty is measured in blood spilled or withheld. I wasn't born into this world. I stumbled into it 5 years ago after my father's gambling debt swallowed our family whole. He died in a back alley accident, courtesy of Vincenzo's enforcers, and I was offered a choice: work off the debt as household staff or join him underground. I chose the apron. It kept me alive, invisible, scrubbing floors while the real monsters dined upstairs. Vincenzo was away on business, not due back for 3 more days. His wife, Isabella, ruled the house in his absence like a queen with a fractured crown. Beautiful, venomous, always watching us servants with eyes that promised pain for the slightest misstep. She was 28, married to Vincenzo for 4 years, a trophy from a rival family to seal an alliance that never quite held. Whispers among the staff said she hated him, that his touch left bruises she hid under silk, but I never saw proof. Until that night. I was in the master suite, changing the linens as ordered. The room smelled of her perfume, jasmine laced with something sharper, like regret. The bed was unmade, sheets tangled in a way that spoke of more than sleep. I smoothed them out, my hands moving on autopilot, when I heard voices from the adjoining sitting room. Low, intimate. Not hers alone. Curiosity is a servant's sin, but I couldn't help it. I cracked the door, just a sliver. Isabella was there, pressed against the wall by a man I recognized, Marco Vitale, one of Vincenzo's lieutenants, a sharp-dressed snake with ambitions taller than his loyalty. His hands were under her dress, her head thrown back, lips parted in a gasp that echoed too loudly in the quiet house. I froze. This wasn't just an affair. This was suicide. Vincenzo's rules were ironclad. Betrayal meant erasure. I'd seen it once, a driver caught skimming profits, his body parts mailed back to his family over weeks. I should have slipped away. But Marco's eyes flicked toward the door. He saw the crack. Saw me. Isabella noticed his pause. "What is it?" "Nothing," he murmured, but his grip on her tightened, possessive. I backed away silently, heart hammering, and fled down the servants' stairs. My mind raced. Tell someone? Who? The other staff lived in fear. Reporting this would paint a target on my back too. Keep quiet? That was complicity, and Vincenzo had ways of sniffing out secrets. I reached the kitchen, where Anna, the older maid who'd trained me, was chopping vegetables. She took one look at my face and set down the knife. "What happened, girl?" I opened my mouth, but the words stuck. Before I could force them out, the front door boomed open. 3 days early. Vincenzo. His voice carried from the foyer, barking orders to his guards. "Clear the house. I want privacy." Anna's face drained of color. She grabbed my arm, dragged me into the pantry, a narrow space lined with shelves, and shoved me behind a stack of flour sacks. Her finger flew to my lips. "Stay silent." Through the slats in the door, I saw her straighten her apron and step out. Vincenzo entered the kitchen moments later, his presence sucking the air from the room. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a face chiseled from stone and eyes like black ice. He wasn't yelling. He never needed to. "Where's my wife?" "Upstairs, sir, in the suite." A pause, then softer. "And who else is here?" Anna hesitated, just a fraction. "The usual staff, sir." He stepped closer to her. I could see the vein pulsing in his neck. "You know what I do to liars, Anna." She didn't flinch. "I do." He studied her for an endless moment, then turned and left, footsteps ascending the main stairs. Anna sagged against the counter, but she didn't come back for me. Not yet. Upstairs, I imagined the scene unfolding, Vincenzo bursting into the suite. Isabella's feigned surprise. Marco? Where had he hidden? The balcony? The closet? Minutes stretched into agony. Then a scream. Isabella's sharp and cut off. Gunshots followed. 2. Then a third. Anna finally pulled me out of the pantry. Her hands were cold. "You saw them, didn't you?" I nodded, throat tight. "That's why I hid you. If he found you there, he'd think you knew. And knowing without telling is the same as betrayal. But you, I've been here 20 years. He trusts me. For now." Her eyes hardened. "Go to your room. Say nothing unless he asks. And if he does, tell the truth. All of it." I nodded again, numb, and slipped away. That night, the house was a tomb. Guards dragged bodies out the back. Marco's, riddled with bullets, and Isabella's, wrapped in the same tangled sheets I'd seen earlier. Vincenzo didn't mourn. He sat in his study, drinking scotch, staring at the fire as if it held answers. He summoned me at midnight. I entered the study on legs that felt like water. He didn't look up. "Sofia, sit." I perched on the edge of a chair, hands clasped to hide the tremble. "You were in the suite today." Not a question. A statement. "Yes, sir." "What did you see?" Everything in me screamed to lie, to minimize. But Anna's words echoed. "Tell the truth." "I saw Mrs. De Luca with Mr. Vitale in the sitting room. They were," I swallowed, "intimate." His glass paused mid-sip. Details. I recounted it, the positions, the whispers, the way Marco's eyes met mine through the door crack. Every moment, every breath. It felt like carving out my own insides, but I didn't hold back. When I finished, silence fell. Then he set down the glass. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "I was afraid. Of them. Of you." Honesty again. Dangerous, but real. He finally looked at me. Not with rage, but something colder. Assessment. "You could have run. Hidden it." I didn't. A nod. Slow. "Leave." I fled, expecting a bullet in my back. It never came. The next days blurred into a haze of tension. The house staff whispered about the incident, but no one spoke openly. Vincenzo buried Isabella quietly. No funeral, just a plot in the family cemetery. Marco's remains were scattered, a message to any other ambitious fools. He began watching me. Not obviously, but I'd feel his eyes during meals, or when I cleaned his office. One evening, as I polished the silver, he entered the dining room unannounced. "Sofia?" I startled, nearly dropping a fork. "Sir?" "Tell me about the day before. What did Isabella say to you in the morning?" I blinked. "She complained about the coffee. Said it was too weak." "And her mood?" "Restless. She paced a lot." He nodded, as if piecing together a puzzle. "Continue." "Over the next week it became a ritual. He'd summon me to recount moments, small details about Isabella's routines, her phone calls I'd overheard, the way she'd glance at the clock when Vincenzo was away. I became his confessor, spilling every fragment I'd observed without realizing their weight. It was twisted. Each session left me drained, but alive, and strangely, empowered." He listened. really listened. No one had ever done that before. One night, after I'd detailed a suspicious late-night visitor Isabella had dismissed as a cousin, Vincenzo poured me a glass of wine. Drink. I hesitated, then sipped. It burned smooth. You've been useful, he said quietly. I don't want to be part of this. Too late. His eyes met mine. But perhaps that's not a bad thing. I left that night with a knot in my stomach. Not fear, but something sharper. Awareness. Before we continue the story, please drop a comment telling me where you're watching this from, and don't forget to subscribe to Mara's Betrayal. The revenge didn't stop with the bodies. Vincenzo was methodical. He dismantled Marco's network first, his brothers arrested on fabricated charges, their businesses torched in accidents. Isabella's family felt it next. Her father, a mid-level don, woke to find his warehouses empty, shipments rerouted to Vincenzo's ports. Whispers spread. Betrayal begets ruin. I watched from the shadows, but he pulled me closer. Tell me about her secrets, he'd say. And I would, dredging up forgotten conversations, hidden letters I'd found while dusting. One afternoon, in the library, he cornered me. Why do you remember so much? Because I had to survive here. He stepped closer, close enough I smelled his cologne, leather and smoke. And now? Now, I don't know. His hand brushed my arm. Not a threat. A question. I didn't pull away. That was the beginning. But darkness doesn't fade. It deepens. 2 weeks after the killings, a package arrived at the estate. Anonymous, wrapped in brown paper. Inside, a severed finger, Isabella's wedding ring still on it. A note. She talked too much. So will you. Vincenzo read it, face impassive, then burned it in the fireplace. That night he summoned me again. We're being watched, from inside. My blood ran cold. Who? You tell me. His eyes bored into mine. You've seen everything. I racked my brain, staff glances, odd behaviors. Then it hit. Paolo, the gardener. He'd been near the suite that day, lingering. Vincenzo nodded. Handle it. Me? Prove your place. He handed me a knife. Small, sharp. I stared at it, the weight pulling me down. Refuse, and I'd be next. Accept, and I'd cross into his world forever. As I slipped out into the gardens under cover of night, blade hidden in my sleeve, I heard footsteps behind me. Vincenzo. Watching. The gardener turned as I approached, surprise flickering. Before he could speak, I lunged, but a shot rang out, not from me. Paolo dropped, clutching his chest. I spun. Vincenzo lowered his gun. You hesitated. He pulled me close, knife clattering to the ground. Next time, don't. His lips brushed my forehead. Not tenderness, possession. And in that moment, as blood pooled at our feet, I realized the silence I'd kept wasn't saving me. It was binding me to him. The knife slipped from my fingers and landed in the wet grass beside Paolo's body. The sound it made, soft, almost nothing, was louder in my head than the gunshot that had ended him. Vincenzo stood over me, gun still smoking in his gloved hand, eyes reflecting the moonlight like polished obsidian. You hesitated, he repeated, voice low, almost gentle. In this world, hesitation is a death sentence, for you or for me. I couldn't look away from Paolo's open eyes. He had trimmed the roses every morning, hummed old Neapolitan songs under his breath. Now he was just meat cooling on the ground. Vincenzo crouched, picked up the knife, and pressed it back into my palm. His fingers closed mine around the handle. Next time, he said, you finish it, or I will finish you. He stood, offered his other hand. I took it without thinking. He pulled me up effortlessly, close enough that I felt the heat of him through his coat. Blood from Paolo's wound had spattered my apron. I could smell the iron. He noticed. His thumb brushed a drop from my cheek. "Clean yourself up, then come to my study." He walked away, leaving me alone with the body in the night. I don't remember how I got back inside. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the faucet. The water ran pink, then clear. I scrubbed until my skin was raw, but the smell stayed. When I entered the study 20 minutes later, Vincenzo was at his desk, pouring 2 glasses of amber liquid. He didn't look up. "Close the door." I did. He slid 1 glass toward me. "Drink." I obeyed. Grappa. It burned all the way down, settled like fire in my stomach. He watched me over the rim of his own glass. "Tell me what you saw tonight." "I saw you kill him. Before that, when you approached Paolo. Every detail." So I told him. The way Paolo had smiled at first, thinking I'd come for a late-night flirt. The confusion when I pulled the knife. The moment he realized. The split second I froze. Vincenzo listened without interrupting. When I finished, he nodded once. "Good. You'll remember that feeling. It will keep you sharp." He stood, walked around the desk until he was right in front of me. Close. Too close. "You're mine now, Sofia. Not just the debt. All of you." I should have been terrified. Part of me was, but another part, the part that had survived my father's death, years of servitude, watching Isabella's cruelty, felt something else. Seen. Chosen. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb tracing my lower lip. "Say it." "I'm yours," I whispered. His eyes darkened. He leaned in, lips brushing mine, not a kiss, a claim. Then he pulled back. "Not yet. You're not ready." He returned to his chair. "Go to bed. Tomorrow we find the rest of them. If you're still watching the story till now, drop a comment so I know you're with me." The next weeks were a descent. Vincenzo turned the estate into a fortress. Guards doubled, cameras added in every hallway. He questioned every staff member personally, but he always brought me with him, perched on a chair in the corner, silent unless spoken to. And he spoke to me often. "Tell me about Carlo the cook. What did he say to Isabella when she complained about the pasta? Tell me about the day the package arrived. Who handled the mail?" I remembered everything. Years of being invisible had trained me to notice details others missed. A glance too long, a whisper cut short when I entered a room, the way certain staff avoided eye contact after Isabella's death. One by one, we uncovered them. 3 more. A footman who'd passed notes, a laundress who'd smuggled phones, a driver who'd driven Marco to secret meetings. Each time Vincenzo made me watch, the footman begged. Vincenzo let him, then ended it with a single shot to the head. The laundress cried, swore she'd only done it for money. He strangled her himself, hands steady, eyes on mine the whole time. The driver tried to run. Vincenzo made me hold the gun while he forced the man to his knees. "Shoot!" he ordered. My hands shook. He stepped behind me, arms around mine, steadying, his breath on my neck. "Now!" I pulled the trigger. The recoil jolted through me. The driver slumped forward. Vincenzo's lips brushed my ear. "Good girl." That night he didn't send me away. He took me on the desk. Hard, deliberate, like he was branding me from the inside. I didn't fight. I couldn't. I didn't want to. After he held me against his chest, fingers tracing the marks he'd left on my skin. "You're becoming something dangerous," he murmured. I didn't answer. I was too busy realizing I already was. But danger cuts both ways. 3 nights later, I woke to an empty bed. Vincenzo was gone. I slipped into a robe and padded barefoot through the dark house. Voices from the basement. I crept down the stairs. The wine cellar had been converted. Chains hung from the ceiling. A man I didn't recognize was strapped to a chair, face swollen, blood dripping from his mouth. Vincenzo stood in front of him, shirt sleeves rolled up, knuckles raw. "Tell me who sent you," he said calmly. The man spat blood. "Go to hell." Vincenzo sighed, picked up a pair of pliers. I must have made a sound. He turned, saw me in the doorway. For the first time, something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe irritation. "Go back to bed, Sofia." Instead, I stepped inside. The prisoner's eyes found me. Recognition. Fear. I knew him. Vaguely. One of Isabella's cousins. Luca Bellini. He rasped, "Help me. Please." Vincenzo's gaze sharpened. "You know him?" I hesitated. One beat too long. "Upstairs," Vincenzo ordered, voice like ice. "Now." I went. He joined me 20 minutes later, shirt changed, hands scrubbed clean. "Talk." So I did. Luca had visited twice while Vincenzo was away. Isabella had met him secretly in the garden. I'd overheard them once, talk of running away, of taking money. Vincenzo listened, face unreadable. When I finished, he said, "You should have told me sooner." I didn't think, that's the problem. He grabbed my chin, forced me to meet his eyes. "You don't think. You tell me everything. Immediately." I nodded. He released me. "Tomorrow you'll watch me finish him, and you'll tell me every word you ever heard pass between them." The next morning, Luca was barely conscious. Vincenzo made me sit close enough to smell the blood. "Ask him," he told me, "about the money, about the plan." I did. Voice shaking at first, then steady. Luca broke slowly, spill by spill. A offshore account, a boat waiting in Naples, a new life in South America. When he had nothing left, Vincenzo looked at me. "End it." He placed the gun in my hand. Luca whimpered. I raised the weapon and fired. Afterward, Vincenzo pulled me into the shower with him, washed the blood from both of us, kissed me under the scalding water like I was something precious. "You're perfect," he whispered against my skin. I wrapped my arms around him and didn't tell him about the doubt starting to coil in my chest, because there was something he didn't know. The night I first saw Isabella with Marco, I hadn't just watched. I'd taken a photo. With the old phone I kept hidden in my room. Insurance, I'd told myself, in case I ever needed leverage. Now I had blood on my hands, literal and figurative, and that photo felt heavier every day. 2 weeks later, another package arrived. This one addressed to me. Inside, a single USB drive and a note in Isabella's handwriting. Impossible, since she was dead. For the girl who sees everything. Vincenzo found me staring at it in the kitchen. "What is that?" I handed it over without a word. He plugged it into his laptop. Videos. Dozens. Me, in his bed. Me, holding the gun over the driver. Me, watching the laundress die. All recorded from hidden cameras in the bedrooms, the cellar, the study. His face went very still. Then he crushed the drive under his heel. "Someone's still playing games," he said quietly. He turned to me. "Did you know about the cameras?" "No." Truth, but his eyes searched mine like he wasn't sure. That night, he didn't touch me. He slept on the far edge of the bed, back turned. The distance felt colder than any punishment. The next morning, he summoned every remaining staff to the foyer. One by one, he questioned them. When it was my turn, he asked, "Have you been recording me, Sofia?" The room went silent. I met his gaze. "No." He stared for a long moment. Then, "I believe you." But something had cracked. He began locking his study, changed the safe combination, watched me when he thought I wasn't looking, and I began watching him back. One night, I slipped into the basement alone. The hidden cameras were still there. Tiny, professional. I found the feed router behind a wine rack, traced the cable. It led upstairs, to the guest wing, to the room that had once been Isabella's private sitting room. The door was locked. I picked it, skill learned from a former maid who'd left under mysterious circumstances. Inside, dust covers on furniture, but the desk drawer was unlocked. Inside, a laptop, still powered, open to a live feed of Vincenzo's bedroom, of us. The cursor blinked on a new file titled Phase 2. I opened it. Photos. Recent. Me, asleep in his bed. Me, crying in the shower after killing Luca. And a document. A plan. Signed by someone whose name made my blood freeze. My uncle. The one who'd sold me to Vincenzo to pay my father's debts. The one I thought was dead. He wasn't. He was coming for Vincenzo, and using me as bait. I closed the laptop, footsteps behind me. I turned. Vincenzo stood in the doorway, gun in hand. "Tell me," he said quietly, "why I shouldn't kill you right now." The gun was pointed at my heart, and for the first time I smiled. "Because," I said, "I'm the only one who can help you kill him first." His eyes narrowed. I stepped closer until the barrel pressed against my chest. "Let me prove it." He didn't lower the gun, but he didn't shoot. Not yet. The barrel of Vincenzo's gun pressed cold and steady against my chest, right over my heartbeat. One twitch of his finger and it would all be over. But I didn't flinch. I couldn't. Not now. Not when everything I'd survived for was balanced on this single moment. Because I repeated, voice low, "I'm the only one who can help you kill him first." His eyes searched mine, black, endless, looking for the lie. I let him look. I had nothing left to hide except the one card I was about to play. Slowly, he lowered the gun. Not away, just enough that it wasn't kissing my heart anymore. "Explain." I stepped past him into Isabella's old sitting room, the dust stirring under my bare feet. The laptop still glowed on the desk, Phase 2 open like an accusation. I turned it toward him. He read in silence. His jaw tightened with every line. When he reached my uncle's name, Riccardo Rossi, his fingers curled into fists. "Your uncle," he said flatly. "The man who sold me to you 5 years ago. The man everyone thought drowned off Capri after he tried to skim from your Naples shipment." I met his gaze. He didn't drown. He's been waiting. Vincenzo closed the laptop with deliberate care. "And you knew?" "Not until tonight. I swear it." He studied me for a long moment. Then, "Show me everything." I did. We spent the next hours dissecting the files. Bank transfers routed through shell companies. Photos of me taken from a distance over the years. Proof Riccardo had been watching. Waiting for me to get close enough to Vincenzo to be useful. Audio clips. My own voice, recorded without my knowledge, moaning Vincenzo's name in bed. Twisted into something obscene. By dawn, the room reeked of stale coffee and rage. Vincenzo stood at the window, watching the sun bleed across the vineyards. "He wants to take everything from me," he said quietly. "My empire, my name, and you." He turned, but he made one mistake. "What?" He underestimated you. Something warm flickered in my chest. Dangerous. Addictive. He crossed the room in 3 strides, cupped my face in hands that had ended so many lives. From this moment, we hunt together. No more secrets. I nodded, but I was already holding one back. The photo I'd taken of Isabella and Marco, the original still hidden on my old phone beneath a loose floorboard in my room. I hadn't deleted it. I couldn't explain why. Insurance, maybe. Or something darker. That day, the estate became a war room. Vincenzo called in his most trusted capos. Maps spread across the dining table. Phones traced. Informants squeezed. I sat at his right hand, no longer the maid. Not quite the mistress. Something new. They looked at me differently now. Some with suspicion. Some with fear. One, old Salvatore, who'd known Vincenzo since he was a boy, actually smiled. "She's got good eyes," he told Vincenzo. "Use her." And he did. I remembered things they'd overlooked. A delivery driver who'd lingered too long last month. A phone number Isabella had dialed repeatedly that traced to a burner in Riccardo's old territory. By nightfall, we had a location. An abandoned villa outside Sorrento, perched on cliffs above the sea. Perfect for a man who wanted to watch the world without being seen. Vincenzo decided we'd go at dawn. Small team. No warnings. That night, he didn't take me roughly. He undressed me slowly, like he was memorizing every inch. Kissed the bruises he'd left weeks ago, now faded yellow. "You're not afraid," he murmured against my throat. "I am," I whispered, "but not of dying." "Of what?" "Of becoming what you need me to be." He pulled back, eyes fierce. "You already are." We didn't sleep. At 4 a.m., we moved. 3 cars, 6 men. Vincenzo and me in the lead. The drive down the coast was silent, the sea black and endless on our left. I watched his profile in the dashboard glow. Sharp, beautiful, lethal. Halfway there, he reached over and took my hand. Laced our fingers. Didn't let go. The villa appeared like a ghost against the cliffs. Crumbling stucco, overgrown bougainvillea, windows dark. Too dark, Vincenzo signaled. The team fanned out. We approached from the rear, through a terraced garden gone wild. I saw the first body before anyone else. Riccardo's guard, throat slit, propped against a lemon tree like a scarecrow. Vincenzo's grip on my hand tightened. Inside, more of the same. 5 men. All dead. Professional work. Silent. Precise. The house was empty. Except for the dining room. A single chair at the long table. On it, a mannequin wearing one of my old maid uniforms, stolen from the estate laundry. Its plastic face had been carved into a scream. On the table, a laptop. Open. Playing a video on loop. Us. In bed. But edited. Slowed. Distorted. My moans turned into cries of pain. And overlaid text. "You taught her well, Vincenzo. Now watch her finish the lesson." Vincenzo's face went deadly calm. He closed the laptop. Then he noticed the envelope taped beneath the table. Inside, a single photograph. Me, age 15, standing beside my father the day he signed my life away to pay his debt. On the back, Riccardo's handwriting. "Blood remembers." Vincenzo looked at me. "This ends tomorrow," he said. But I was staring at the mannequin. Something glinted in its apron pocket. I reached in. A key, old brass, and a note in my uncle's scrawl. "Come alone. Midnight. The chapel at San Sebastiano, or the next package will be her heart." Vincenzo read it over my shoulder. "No. I have to. He'll kill you. Or he'll kill both of us if I don't." I met his eyes. "You taught me hesitation is death." His jaw worked, fury and something softer warring across his face. Finally, "Then we end it my way." He made calls, more men, explosives, snipers. but I was already planning something else. That afternoon, while Vincenzo coordinated the assault, I slipped away. To my old room, the loose floorboard. The phone was still there. Battery dead, but intact. I charged it in secret. One photo. Isabella and Marco. Time-stamped the day everything began. I stared at it for a long time. Then I texted it to the number on Ricardo's note, with a message, "I know what you really wanted from her. Midnight. Come alone, or this goes to every family from here to Palermo." I hit send before I could second guess. The reply came instantly. "Clever girl, just like your father." My stomach turned, but I'd bought us time, or a trap. That night we moved again, this time to the ruins of San Sebastiano, an ancient chapel on a hill overlooking the city, abandoned since the earthquake of '80. Crumbling bell tower, overgrown cemetery, perfect ambush site. Vincenzo's men took positions in the dark. He and I waited inside the chapel, moonlight slicing through broken stained glass. 11:58 p.m., footsteps on gravel. Ricardo appeared in the doorway alone, hands visible. Older than I remembered. Thinner. Eyes like mine. Same shape, same coldness. "Sofia," he said softly. "You grew up beautiful." Vincenzo's gun was already raised. Ricardo smiled. "You won't shoot." "Not yet. You want to know why?" "Talk," Vincenzo said. Ricardo stepped inside. "It was never about you, De Luca. It was about him." He nodded at Vincenzo. "Your father." Vincenzo's finger tightened on the trigger. "My father's been dead 20 years. Murdered," Ricardo said. "By yours. A territory dispute. My sister, Sofia's mother, was collateral. Your father covered it up. Paid off the right people. I was just a soldier then. Powerless." He looked at me. "I waited. Built my own network in the shadows. When your father died and you took over, I saw my chance. But direct war would have destroyed us both. So I chose something slower." He gestured at me. "Her?" Vincenzo's voice was lethal. "You sold her to me. To get her close to you. To make you trust her. Love her even. And then," he smiled, "to have her kill you." I felt Vincenzo glance at me. Ricardo laughed. "Oh, she hasn't told you. The poison in your scotch last month? That was her. The brake line on your car? Her." Lies, but Vincenzo's eyes flickered with doubt. Ricardo saw it, pressed. "She's my blood. She knows where her loyalty lies." I stepped forward. "You're wrong," I said quietly. Ricardo's smile faltered. "I hated you long before I ever met him." My voice didn't shake. "You sold me. You let my father die. You used my mother's death like currency." I pulled the old phone from my pocket, held it up. "This photo. Isabella and Marco. I sent it to every capo in the South 10 minutes ago. With a message. Riccardo Rossi tried to frame Vincenzo De Luca for his own wife's infidelity. Tried to start a war." Ricardo's face went white. "You little..." Vincenzo smiled. Slow. Terrible. "You should have come with men." Ricardo lunged for me. Vincenzo fired. One shot. Center mass. Ricardo staggered, looked down at the hole blooming red on his shirt. Then at me. "You choose him?" I walked forward until I stood over him. "I choose me." I took Vincenzo's gun from his hand, pressed it to Ricardo's forehead, and pulled the trigger. His body hit the stone floor with a wet thud. Silence. Then Vincenzo's arms around me from behind. "You didn't hesitate," he whispered. I turned in his embrace. Blood on both of us again. But this time, it felt like absolution. We burned the chapel that night. Ricardo's body, the laptop, every trace. By morning, the story was simple. Riccardo Rossi, disgraced and desperate, tried to assassinate Vincenzo De Luca and paid the ultimate price. No one questioned it. The families sent condolences, gifts, oaths of loyalty. And in the quiet aftermath, Vincenzo married me. Not a grand wedding. Just us in the estate garden at sunset. Anna, the only witness. He slipped a ring on my finger, black diamonds, cold as his eyes used to be. "You're not my maid anymore," he said. I never really was. He kissed me then. Deep, possessive, but different, like equals. That night, in our bed, truly ours now, I asked the question I'd buried for months. "Do you trust me?" He traced the scar on my shoulder, an old one from the night my father died. "With my life," he said, and I believed him. But trust is a fragile thing. 3 months later, I found the positive test hidden in my drawer. A baby. His. Ours. I stared at it for a long time. Then I burned it. Because some secrets are better kept. For now. I placed a hand on my still flat stomach and smiled into the dark. Because the game wasn't over. It was just beginning. And this time, I was writing the rules. But that night, as Vincenzo slept beside me, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at the screen. A message from an unknown number. One line. Phase 3 begins. Attached. A sonogram. Not mine. Someone else's. With a date 3 weeks from now. And a name. Isabella De Luca. I froze. Isabella was dead. We'd buried her. Hadn't we? Vincenzo stirred beside me. I deleted the message, curled back against him. But my heart pounded. Because if Isabella wasn't dead, everything I'd built was a lie, and the real betrayal hadn't even started. I deleted the message so fast my thumb left a smear on the screen. Phase 3 begins. A sonogram. Isabella De Luca. The name hit me like a blade between the ribs. Isabella was dead. I'd watched Vincenzo wrap her body myself, watched the sheets soak through with blood, watched the guards carry her out to the waiting van. We'd scattered her ashes in the sea at dawn, just the two of us, his hand heavy on my shoulder, as if anchoring himself to me, instead of grief. But the sonogram was dated 4 weeks from now. Impossible, unless she hadn't died that night. I lay perfectly still beside Vincenzo, counting his breaths until they deepened into sleep. Then I slipped from the bed, pulled on his discarded shirt, and padded barefoot to the study. The safe combination hadn't changed. Our wedding date. Inside, the burner phone he still kept for emergencies, fully charged. I powered it on with shaking fingers. One new message, same unknown number. "You burned the wrong body." Attached, a photo. A woman in a hospital bed, face turned away, dark hair spilling over the pillow. IV in her arm. Belly rounded under the thin blanket. The angle hid her features, but the birthmark on her left wrist, small, heart-shaped, was unmistakable. Isabella's. My knees buckled. I gripped the desk to stay upright. Another message arrived as I stared. Midnight tomorrow. The old lighthouse at Punta Campanella. Come alone. Or the families learn their precious peace was built on a lie. I turned off the phone, slid it back exactly as I'd found it. Then I stood in the dark for a long time, listening to the house breathe around me. Vincenzo could never know. Not yet. If Isabella was alive, everything we'd built, the purge of traitors, Riccardo's death, our marriage, was balanced on a deception. One whisper to the other families, and war would erupt again. Vincenzo would be painted weak, deceived in his own bed. They'd come for him. For us. For the child I was carrying, though he didn't know it yet. I placed a hand on my stomach, felt nothing yet but the promise. I had 24 hours to fix this. Dawn found me in the kitchen, brewing coffee I couldn't drink. Anna shuffled in, older now, hair more gray than black. She took one look at my face and poured herself a cup instead. "You look like death, child." "I feel like it." She studied me over the rim. "Whatever it is, tell him." "I can't." "Then you're already lost." She left me with that. By noon, I'd made my plan. I told Vincenzo I needed air, a drive to clear my head. He was distracted, meetings with capos about a new shipment, so he kissed my forehead absently and assigned 2 guards to follow at a distance. I lost them in the narrow streets of Positano. Drove south alone in the little Fiat I kept for errands. Punta Campanella is a jagged thumb of land reaching into the sea, wild and lonely. The lighthouse has been abandoned since the 90s. Cracked concrete, rusted railings, gulls nesting in the broken lantern room. I arrived at dusk. The wind whipped my hair as I climbed the spiral stairs. Salt stung my eyes. She was waiting at the top. Isabella. Thinner. Pale. Hair cut short, dyed auburn. But the eyes, green, venomous, were the same. She stood with her back to the sea, one hand resting protectively on the swell of her belly. 6 months along, maybe more. "Hello, Sofia," she said softly. "Or should I call you Signora now?" I stopped 3 steps below her. "You're supposed to be dead." "I was," she smiled, cold and perfect. "For about 4 minutes. Long enough for Marco's men to pull me out of the sheets, swap the body, get me to a private clinic. Money buys miracles these days." Marco's men? Marco had plans beyond betting me. He wanted the empire. Thought if Vincenzo believed I'd betrayed him, he'd spiral, make mistakes. Then Marco would step in as the steady hand. She shrugged. Didn't work out for him. I took another step up. "And the baby?" Her hand tightened on her stomach. "Vincenzo's. Conceived the week before he left on that trip. I was going to tell him when he returned. Then you saw us." My throat closed. She laughed quietly. "You think I hated you for telling him?" "No, little maid. I hated you for surviving him, for making him look at you the way he never looked at me." Wind howled through the broken windows. "Why now?" I asked. "Because I'm tired of hiding. Tired of watching you play house in my place." Her eyes hardened. "I want what's mine." "You'll start a war." "I'll end one. The families respect blood. This child is De Luca blood. Legitimate. Yours." She tilted her head. "Is it even his?" I didn't answer. She took my silence for confirmation. "Come with me," she said suddenly. "Leave him. We'll disappear. South America, like Marco planned. Raise our children together. Sisters." I almost laughed. "You think I'd trust you?" "You should. I spared you once. That night in the suite, Marco saw you watching. He wanted to kill you immediately. I told him no. A maid's word against mine? No one would believe you." She stepped closer. "I protected you. You used me." Same thing. Below us, the sea crashed against rocks. I climbed the last steps until we were eye to eye. "Vincenzo will never let you come back." "He will if the alternative is losing everything." She pulled a small drive from her pocket. "This has everything. Medical records proving the child is his, DNA already run, photos of the body swap, testimony from the doctor who revived me. Enough to make the capos question his judgment, his sanity." She held it out. "One push of a button, and it goes to every family head. Unless you help me." "Help you how?" "Convince him I'm telling the truth, that I faked my death to escape Marco's plot, that I've been in hiding, protecting his heir. I stared at the drive. And if I refuse, then tomorrow morning, the family's wake to proof their boss was cuckolded and crazed. He'll be dead by nightfall. And you with him. She placed the drive in my palm. Midnight tomorrow. Bring him here. Alone. Or I press send. She brushed past me down the stairs, moving surprisingly fast for her condition. I didn't stop her. I stood in the lantern room until the stars came out, wind tearing at my clothes, the drive heavy in my hand. When I got home, Vincenzo was waiting in the entrance hall, face thunderous. Where were you? Driving. Without guards? I needed to think. He grabbed my arm, hard. You don't disappear on me. Ever. I looked up at him. We need to talk. I led him to the study, locked the door, showed him the drive, told him everything. His face went through stages. Disbelief, rage, something that looked almost like grief. When I finished, he was silent for so long I thought he might kill me. Instead, he pulled me against him, buried his face in my hair. She's alive, he whispered, and carrying my child. I felt his heart hammering against mine. What do we do? I asked. He pulled back, eyes black again, determined. We go to her, tomorrow night, alone, like she wants. You trust her? No. He cupped my face. But I trust you. That night, he made love to me like he was saying goodbye. Slow, worshipful, hands trembling on my skin. After, he held me tight. There's something I need to tell you, I whispered. He waited. I'm pregnant. His breath caught. He pressed his forehead to mine. How long? 8 weeks. He laughed, soft, broken, joyous, then kissed my stomach with reverence. We'll fix this, he promised. All 3 of us will be safe. But I saw the calculation in his eyes. He was already planning. Midnight the next night. We drove to Punta Campanella in silence. The lighthouse loomed against a storm sky, lightning flickering over the sea. Isabella waited inside the lantern room again, silhouetted against the flashes. She smiled when she saw us together. Smart man, brought back up. Vincenzo's voice was calm. Show me the proof. She handed over a folder, medical records, ultrasound prints, DNA results. He studied them carefully. I watched his face. The child was his. No doubt. When he looked up, his expression was unreadable. You've suffered, he said quietly. Hiding all this time. Her eyes filled. Real tears or not, I couldn't tell. I did it for our baby. He stepped closer, reached out, cupped her cheek. I saw her lean into it. Then his other hand moved, fast, a blade from his sleeve, into her side. Once. Twice. She gasped, eyes wide. He caught her as she fell. I believed you dead once, he whispered against her ear. This time I'll make sure. Blood spread across her dress. She clutched at him. The drive, autosend, if I don't stop it. He smiled. I know. He'd already hacked it. Hours spent with his tech guy, disabling the dead man switch. She realized. Slumped. The storm broke overhead as she died. Lightning illuminated her face. Shock. Betrayal. Vincenzo laid her gently on the floor, then turned to me, hands red, eyes pleading for something I wasn't sure I could give. Absolution. I knelt beside him, took his face in my hands. It's over, I said. He nodded. But we both knew it wasn't. Because as thunder rolled, I felt the first kick inside me. And in that moment, looking at Isabella's body, I understood something terrifying. I would do anything to protect my child. Even from him. We burned the lighthouse too. Drove home through the storm. This weeks that followed, life settled into a new rhythm. The families never learned the truth. Isabella remained a ghost, betrayer, dead by her lover's hand. Our child grew inside me. Vincenzo became gentler, attentive, almost soft. But I saw him watching me sometimes, the way he used to watch her, and one night I woke to find him sitting beside the bed, staring. "What is it?" I whispered. He brushed hair from my face. "Just making sure you're real." I smiled, pulled him down beside me. But as he slept, I slipped out again. To the study, to the safe. Inside, beneath the false bottom I'd discovered months ago, a file, photos of me. From before I came to the estate, surveillance, just like the ones he'd kept on Isabella. On the back of the most recent, me in the garden, hand on my belly, his handwriting, "She's perfect. This one will stay." My blood ran cold, because I finally understood. It wasn't about Isabella. It never had been. It was about control, about owning someone completely. And I'd walked straight into it, willingly. But now I carried his heir, the one thing he'd never risk. I closed the safe, returned to bed, curled against him, and started planning. Because the next betrayal wouldn't be his. It would be mine. And when it came, he'd never see it coming. I closed the safe door with a soft click that sounded louder than gunfire in the silent study. "This one will stay." The words were burned into my mind now, written in Vincenzo's precise, slanted hand on the back of that photograph. Not a promise. A verdict. I stood there in the dark, one palm pressed flat against the cool metal, the other resting on the small curve of my belly where his child, our child, was growing. 8 weeks. Too early to feel movement, but I swore I could sense it anyway. A quiet, insistent presence that changed everything. He thought he owned me. He thought this baby would bind me tighter. He was half right. But ownership is a two-way street in this world. And I had learned from the best. I returned to bed without a sound, slid under the sheets and molded myself against his back, the way he liked. His arm came around me instinctively, even in sleep, pulling me close. Possessive. Protective. I waited until his breathing evened out again, then whispered into the dark, too soft for him to hear. "You have no idea what's coming." The next morning he was tender. Made me stay in bed while he brought coffee and fresh cornetti on a tray himself. No staff allowed. He fed me bites of pastry, licked almond cream from my lip, smiled like a man who had finally won something worth keeping. "We'll go to the doctor this week," he said. "Best obstetrician in Roma. Private clinic. No records." I nodded, let him kiss my stomach again. Inside I was ice, because while he planned our future, I was dismantling his. It started small. I began asking questions, innocent, loving questions. "Tell me about your mother," I said one evening as we walked the gardens at sunset. "You never speak of her." His step faltered, just for a fraction. "She died when I was 7. "How?" "Car accident. Clipped. Final. I didn't push. Not yet." Later, in bed, I traced the scar on his shoulder. An old one, jagged. "Where did this come from?" "Old fight." He caught my hand, kissed my fingers. "Stop digging, amore. Some things are buried for a reason." But I didn't stop. I started waking early, before he did. Slipping into his study while he showered. Memorizing passwords I watched him type. Noting which drawers he locked and which he didn't. Cataloging the burner phones, the ledgers, the offshore account numbers he thought I never saw. I became what he'd made me. Invisible again, but this time by choice. Anna noticed first. "You're different," she said one afternoon in the kitchen, peeling oranges with a knife older than I was. Different how? Quiet in a new way, like you're listening to something no one else hears. I smiled. Maybe I am. She set the knife down. Be careful, Sofia. That man loves you, but love in this house comes with chains. I know. Do you know how to break them? I met her eyes. I'm learning. She nodded once, slow. Then God help him. Because Anna had been here longest. She remembered Vincenzo's father, the mother who hadn't died in a car accident at all. I found the proof 2 weeks later. A hidden compartment in the back of his closet behind rows of tailored suits. A small metal box. Combination, his mother's birthday. I'd seen it once on an old document. Inside, newspaper clippings, yellowed and brittle. Headlines from 30 years ago. Mafia widow found dead in wreckage. Suicide suspected. But the photos told a different story. The car mangled beyond recognition. Skid marks showing it had been run off the road. Brake lines cut clean. And a letter, handwritten, from his mother to a friend. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. He's becoming his father. I can't let him raise my son that way. Vincenzo had been 7. His father had killed her to keep her from leaving, from taking the boy. And Vincenzo had known. He'd kept the proof all these years. I photographed everything with a new burner I'd bought in town. Sent the files to an encrypted cloud only I could access. Then I put it all back exactly as I'd found it. That night, he was restless in his sleep. Murmured her name, Elena, not Isabella. His mother's name had been Elena. I held him until he quieted. But I didn't sleep, because now I understood the pattern. His father had owned his mother until she tried to leave. Vincenzo had owned Isabella until she betrayed him. Now he owned me, and I was carrying the next De Luca heir. History repeating, unless I broke the cycle. I started reaching out, carefully. Old contacts from the staff who'd left, or been made to leave. A former driver now in Sicily. A laundress in Napoli. People who'd seen things, heard things, and vanished quietly with severance pay and threats. They talked to me because I was the signora now, because they feared Vincenzo more than they feared me, and because I paid better. Piece by piece, the picture formed. Vincenzo didn't just collect loyalties. He collected women who looked a certain way. Dark hair, pale skin, quiet strength, his mother's type. Isabella had been the latest before me. There were others earlier. Mistresses who disappeared when they got too close to the truth, or when they got pregnant. No children before this one. No accidents. I was the first to survive this far. Because I'd been useful. Because I'd killed for him. But usefulness has an expiration date. Especially when the baby came. He'd want a son. He'd want control. He'd lock me away for safety. And one day, when I resisted, I placed a hand on my belly again. Not my child. Not ever. I made my decision in the 6th month, when the baby first kicked hard enough to wake me. I would leave. Not run. Leave. With everything I needed to destroy him if he followed. I began siphoning money. Small amounts from the household accounts he let me manage. Transferred to an account in Anna's maiden name. She'd agreed without hesitation. I collected evidence. The photos of his mother's car. Bank records showing payments to the accident cleanup crew. Testimonies from old staff about the missing mistresses. And the surveillance he still kept on me. New cameras I'd found in our bedroom. The nursery he was already decorating. All of it backed up in 3 places. I waited until he left for a 3-day trip to Palermo. Territory negotiations he couldn't trust to anyone else. The night before he left, he made love to me with desperate intensity. "Promise you'll rest," he said, hand on my belly. "Promise you'll wait for me." "I promise," I lied, kissing him deep. He left at dawn. I waited until his car disappeared down the drive. Then I moved. Anna helped pack, 1 suitcase only. Cash, passports, 3 different names. The drives with evidence. We burned the old phone with the Isabella photo for good measure. The staff had been given the week off, my doing under the guise of renovations. The house was empty except for us. At dusk, a car arrived, driven by the former driver from Sicily, now loyal to me for reasons that involved a very large payment and a promise of protection. I paused at the door, looked back at the estate that had been my prison and my battlefield. Anna hugged me fierce. "You sure?" "I've never been more sure." She pressed something into my hand, an old rosary. "For luck." I kissed her cheek. Then I left. We drove north, not to Roma, not to any city he'd think to search first, to a small convent in the mountains near Assisi, run by nuns who asked no questions if the donation was large enough, a place for women hiding from dangerous men. I arrived at night. Sister Maria, the Mother Superior, met me at the gate. "You're safe here," she said simply. I believed her. Months passed in quiet. I gave birth in a small clinic nearby. A boy, healthy, perfect, dark hair, my eyes. I named him Luca, after no one in particular, just a name that wasn't De Luca. Vincenzo searched, of course. I watched from afar. News filtered through careful channels. The empire held, but cracks showed. Capos questioning his distraction. Shipments lost. Rivals testing borders. He never found me, because I'd left something behind. A package, delivered anonymously the day after I left. Inside one of the evidence drives, with a note in my handwriting. "If you come for us, this goes to every family, every prosecutor, every newspaper. Your mother deserves justice. Let her have it. Let us go." He understood. Because 6 months after Luca was born, the news broke. Vincenzo De Luca confessed to his father's crimes, decades old, but still prosecutable under new laws. He took a plea. 20 years. The empire fractured peacefully, pieces carved up by agreement to avoid war. He went to prison without a fight. I watched the footage once, him in cuffs, head high, but his eyes, searching the crowd, looking for me. He didn't find me. I turned off the screen, held my son close, and for the first time in years, I slept without fear. But endings are never clean in this world. 2 years later, a letter arrived at the convent. No return address. Inside, a single photograph. Vincenzo in prison yard, thinner, harder. On the back, his handwriting, changed, but unmistakable. I kept my promise. Now keep yours. Wait for me. I burned the letter, but I didn't sleep that night. Because promises in our world don't expire. They just wait. And 20 years is a long time, but not forever. I looked at Luca, sleeping peacefully. Dark hair tousled on the pillow, and I made a new promise. This cycle ends with me, whatever it takes, because he taught me well, too well, and if he ever comes, I'll be ready. Not as the maid, not as the wife, but as the woman who took everything from him and walked away. But that's not the end, because last week another package arrived. Small, brown paper. Inside, a black diamond ring. My wedding ring. The one I'd left on his pillow the night I disappeared. And a new note. Sooner than you think. Good behavior. I closed the box, looked out at the mountains. felt the old ice return. Not fear, readiness. Because the game wasn't over. He was coming, and this time I had everything to lose. My son, my freedom, my life. But I also had everything to fight with. And I would. To the end. The package sat on the small wooden table in my room at the convent for 3 days before I opened it. I told myself I was waiting for the right moment. Truth was, I was afraid of what else might be inside besides the ring. On the 4th morning, with Luca napping in the garden under Sister Maria's watchful eye, I finally slit the brown paper. The black diamond ring glinted up at me first, cold fire against the white tissue. My wedding ring. The one I'd left on his pillow like a full stop to our story. Beneath it, a single playing card. The Queen of Spades. On the blank back, his handwriting. Time to come home, my queen. No threats, no demands. Just that. I burned the card in the sink, watched the edges curl black, but the words stayed etched behind my eyes. Sooner than you think. Good behavior. I knew what it meant. Early release, overcrowding, cooperating witness credits, lawyers who knew which judges to grease. In Italy's system, 20 years could become 10 with the right strings pulled. 10 could become 7. It had been almost 8 since I walked away. He was out, or about to be. I started making calls that afternoon, quiet ones, to people who owed me, to people who still feared him. The news trickled in over weeks. Vincenzo De Luca, model prisoner. No incidents. Mentored younger inmates. Donated to the prison library. Testified against 2 corrupt guards in exchange for consideration. Release date, December 24th, 2025. Christmas Eve, poetic. He always did have a sense for drama. I had 1 month. First, I moved us. Not far, just to a small farmhouse outside Perugia, rented under Anna's name. Stone walls, olive groves, a view of the valley that made it hard for anyone to approach unseen. Luca started preschool in the village. I cut my hair short, dyed it blonde, learned to answer to Clara. Sister Maria blessed us at the gate when we left. Whatever you're running from, she said, may it lose your scent. I smiled. It's not running anymore. It's preparing. Anna came with us. She was too old to stay behind alone, and I needed her eyes, her memory, her steady hands. We turned the farmhouse into something between a home and a fortress. Motion sensors on the perimeter, cameras that fed to my phone, a safe room in the cellar, weapons I'd never thought I'd touch again, cleaned, oiled, hidden. Luca called the guns Mama's tools. He was 3, curious, beautiful. Every day he looked more like his father, and every day I loved him harder for it. I taught him early. If Mama says hide, you hide. No questions. He thought it was a game. I hoped it would stay that way. November passed in cold rain. I watched the news. Vincenzo's release made headlines. Reformed dawn, tragedy of justice, all the usual nonsense. Photos of him leaving the gate. Thinner, hair graying at the temples, but the eyes still black ice. Suit tailored even for freedom. He gave no interviews. Disappeared into the wind. That scared me more than anything. Because I knew him. He wasn't coming loud. He was coming quiet. December crept in. I started sleeping with the Glock under my pillow again. Anna found me one night on the porch, staring at the dark hills. He'll come on Christmas Eve, I said. She nodded. Men like him love symbols. What do we do? We give him what he expects, I said, and then we give him what he deserves. We planned. 2 escape routes, a car always fueled, cash buried in the olive grove, and one more thing, a message. I sent it on December 20th, through channels he'd recognize, an old capo who'd stayed neutral, now retired in Sardinia. Tell him I'll be at the estate. Christmas Eve. Midnight. Alone. The trap was simple. He'd think I was surrendering. Bringing Luca as the ultimate gift. His son. His legacy. He'd come expecting submission. He'd find something else. Christmas Eve arrived wrapped in fog. Luca was asleep by 8, clutching the wooden train Anna had carved him. I kissed his forehead. Sweet dreams, amore. I dressed in black, jeans, sweater, boots, hair hidden under a cap, Glock on my thigh, knife in my boot, another gun in the small of my back. Anna hugged me at the door. Remember who you are now. Not the maid, I whispered. Not the wife. The queen. She smiled, fierce and old. I drove alone to the old estate. The gates were unlocked. He'd been here already. The house stood dark, but I knew he was inside. I walked the gravel drive slowly, boots crunching loud enough to announce me. The front door was ajar. I pushed it open. Candles lit the foyer, dozens of them, flickering like a church. Rose petals on the marble floor, red, fresh, leading upstairs, to our old bedroom. My heart pounded, but I followed. The petals ended at the bedroom door. It was open. He stood in the center of the room, back to me, suit black as night, hands in pockets. The bed was made with the same linens we'd used years ago. He didn't turn. I knew you'd come, he said quietly. His voice, God, his voice. Deeper now, roughened by time. I stayed in the doorway. Where's our son? Safe. He turned then. Older, harder, but still beautiful in that lethal way. Eyes locked on mine. You look different. You don't. He smiled. Small. Sad. I waited 8 years for this. I know. He stepped closer. I kept my promise. I paid for my father's sins. For mine. You think that erases everything? No. Another step. But it buys a second chance. I didn't move. With you. With him. He stopped an arm's length away. I don't want the Empire back. I don't want blood. I just want my family. His hand rose slowly, palm open. Come home, Sofia. For one heartbeat, I wavered. I saw the man who'd fed me pastry in bed, who'd kissed my pregnant belly like it was sacred, who'd burned cities to keep me. But then I saw the rest. The mother run off the road, the mistresses vanished, the wife stabbed in a lighthouse, the surveillance photos, the note, this one will stay. I drew the Glock, leveled it at his chest. His eyes flickered, surprise, then understanding. You were always smarter than me, he said softly. Hands where I can see them. He raised them, slowly. I'm unarmed. I don't believe you. He smiled again. Check if you want. I didn't move. This ends tonight, I said. It does. Footsteps behind me. I spun, Anna in the doorway, shotgun leveled. But not at him. At me. I'm sorry, child, she whispered, tears on her cheeks. Vincenzo's voice was gentle. She's been mine since the beginning. Longer than you. My world tilted. Anna's hands shook. He has her granddaughter, she said brokenly. In Palermo. If she doesn't bring you, I looked back at Vincenzo. You bastard. I learned from the best. He moved fast, faster than a man his age should, disarmed me in a blur. The gun clattered away. He pulled me against him, arms like steel. I didn't want it this way, he murmured against my hair. I struggled, but he was stronger. Always had been. Anna lowered the shotgun, weeping openly. He guided me to the bed, sat me down, knelt in front of me, took my hands. I love you, he said simply. I never stopped. I spat in his face. He wiped it away without anger. You'll come around. He stood. Anna, bring the car around. She nodded, left. He looked down at me. We're going home, all 3 of us. I laughed then, cold, real. You still don't get it. I slipped the knife from my boot in one smooth motion, drove it up under his ribs. Once, twice. He staggered back, eyes wide, blood blooming dark on his shirt. I stood. You taught me too well. He sank to his knees, looked up at me. Not anger. Pride. My queen, he whispered, then collapsed. I stepped over him, picked up the Glock. Anna was in the hall, frozen. I raised the gun. She closed her eyes. Waited too long, I said, and fired. Once. Clean. She fell beside him. I walked out. The fog was thicker now. I drove back to the farmhouse. Luca was still asleep. I packed our bags. By dawn, we were gone. New names, new country. This time, across the ocean. I left no note, no ring, no queen of spades. Just 2 bodies in a bedroom lit by dying candles. And a message sent from Anna's phone before I ended her. It's finished. The families would find them. Assume a murder-suicide. Old loyalties. Old betrayals. No one would look for me. Because the story would end there. With the king and his traitor dead. And the queen vanished. Forever. Years later, Luca asked about his father. I told him the truth. Not all of it. But enough. That man loved you, I said. In his way. But love isn't enough when it comes in chains. He nodded, solemn for a 7-year-old. Will he come back? No, amore. He's gone. And for the first time, I believed it. Because I'd ended it. Not with silence. With fire. I still remember the night the Mafia boss came for me one last time. And I said no. Not with words. With blood. And walked away the queen I was always meant to be. No more maids. No more wives. Just me. And my son. Free. If you liked the story, drop a comment for part 2, and don't forget to subscribe to Mara's Betrayal.